The great hall of Zelvara was full of silence, not because it was empty, but because no one dared to speak. Dozens of alien nobles and warriors stood tall around the marble floor, all looking away, pretending not to see the figure in the center. She was small, weak, and trembling, an alien girl with folded ears and cloudy eyes that could not see. Her cane tapped gently on the floor as she tried to keep her balance. Her steps slow and careful. She was the youngest daughter of the High Queen, born blind and with twisted legs that made her limp when she walked. Her family called it a curse. The court called her useless. And the people simply never spoke of her at all. But today, she was to be bonded, offered to any warrior or noble who would take her as tradition demanded. The high priest stepped forward and raised his voice. The time has come. The last royal offering stands before you. No one moved. The priest continued. Her name is Princess Varel of House Varnith, though she is blind and broken. The law says she must be given a chance. Still, silence. Princess Varel stood there, shaking, her hands clutching her cane harder, her sharp hearing picking up the whispers from the crowd. She's cursed. One voice muttered. She'll bring shame to any house, said another. She'll die. Alone, someone whispered. Her lips tightened, but she didn't cry, not yet, not in front of them. Minutes passed. The silence growing more cruel with each second. The high priest lowered his staff, his voice now weak. Very well, if no one will claim the offering, then the bonding ritual shall be. I'll take her. A voice echoed through the hall. The voice was strange, deep, calm, and not from any noble or warrior they knew. All heads turned toward the shadows at the edge of the hall. A tall figure stepped into the light, human male, and wearing a dusty jacket and metal boots. His hair was short, his face tired but kind, and his eyes locked onto the princess without pity. The room exploded in noise. A human. What is he doing here? He can't be serious. The guards stepped forward, but the high priest raised his hand, stopping them. You speak, outsider. The priest said slowly, do you know what you are asking? The human nodded once. I do. She deserves better than this. Princess Varel turned her head, sensing the direction of his voice. No one else wants her. The human continued. So I will take her with me. Her heart skipped, not in fear, but confusion. Why? Why would a stranger, especially a human, do this? He walked toward her slowly, not rushing, not forcing her to move. He bent slightly and whispered something so soft only she could hear. You're not broken, he said. You're just waiting for someone to see you, right? Her lips parted. The first sound she made all day, a small gasp, not from pain, but from surprise. The high priest looked shaken. But the law was clear. Even a human had the right to bond if he chose. Then, by tradition, the priest declared, the offering has been accepted. Gasps filled the hall, some in shock, some in disgust. The nobles turned their backs, the warriors left the hall, and even the queen's face turned cold. But none of that mattered to the human, and slowly it began not to matter to the princess either. He reached out a hand toward her. She didn't take it right away. Her fingers hovered in the air, shaking. No one had ever reached for her gently before, not without fear or shame. After a long moment, her hand found his, and she let out a soft breath she had been holding all her life. He helped her step down from the platform, guiding her slowly, and the hall watched in silence as the blind princess left, not with a prince, not with a knight, but with a human who saw what no one else had bothered to look for. She didn't say a word as they walked together, but her cane tapped with more confidence. Now, her steps stronger than before. At the great doors, she stopped. She turned her head slightly toward the hall, her blind eyes staring into the emptiness that once held her chains. Then she faced forward again, whispering the first full sentence she had spoken in months. I think I can walk without the cane. and for the first time, her steps made no sound, only the sound of her hand holding his steady, sure and free. Asterisk, the sky above was dark purple, filled with drifting clouds that glowed faintly from the twin moons. The human-led Princess Virel through the wild plains outside the city, away from the judging eyes and cruel voices. They said nothing for a long time, walking him holding her hand, her ears listening closely to every small sound. He walked slowly, matching her pace, never pulling or rushing her when she stumbled on a stone. He didn't laugh or grab her roughly. He just gently adjusted her hand to guide her around it. Virel didn't understand him, not yet. He didn't smell like fear or pity. He didn't treat her like glass. And strangely, he didn't say much at all. After hours of walking, they reached a small valley. In the middle of it sat a simple dome shelter made of dull metal, with a campfire pit and stacked supplies near the wall. "This is your home?" she asked softly. "It is now," he replied. He helped her sit on a soft blanket, then started building a fire with practiced hands. She tilted her head at the sounds of the clicking of metal, the scraping of stone, the soft crackle of flames. "You live alone?" she asked. "For now," he said, "but not anymore." She didn't know what that meant, but the warmth from the fire touched her face, and she relaxed a little. He cooked something that smelled strange but pleasant, and when he handed her a bowl, he said one word that made her pause, "Careful." No one had warned her gently before, not when the palace floors were slippery, not when the food was too hot, not even when guards pushed her aside. She tasted the food. It was spicy, but it made her mouth smile without her meaning to. Later, that night, she lay down on a soft sleeping mat, warmer than anything in the cold royal chambers. As she drifted off, she whispered, "What's your name?" He chuckled. "You can call me Sam." She repeated it quietly. Sam. When morning came, she felt something strange. Peace. No servants, no guards, no whispers behind her back. Only wind, birds, and the sound of Sam heating water. For the first time, she reached out without her cane, using her ears and nose to find her way. She walked slowly, touching the wall of the shelter, then stepping carefully to where the fire crackled. Sam noticed but didn't say anything. Instead, he handed her a warm mug and said, "Try walking without the cane today, only if you want to." She frowned. "But I'll fall. Then I'll catch you," he said simply. The day passed with strange lessons. He had her sit and listen to the wind, then guess the distance of falling leaves. He gave her objects to hold, one at a time: feathers, stones, pieces of cloth, asking her to describe them by touch alone. He even led her to a shallow stream, letting her step barefoot into the cold water, teaching her how to feel the current's strength and direction. At first, she struggled, but he never scolded her. And slowly she laughed. It was a small laugh, shaky and soft, but it was hers and it made Sam smile. "You're not teaching me to survive," she said that evening as they watched the fire again. "You're teaching me to live." Sam nodded. "Because you've survived enough already." At night, she had dreams, flashes of something distant, fire in the sky, a black figure standing in front of her with red eyes, and Sam holding a strange glowing stone. When she awoke, her hands were shaking. Sam handed her tea, not asking what she had seen, just sitting beside her until she was calm. On the third day, he placed a round object in her hands. It was heavy, cold, and had buttons. "What is this?" she asked. "A sound scanner," he explained. "It picks up movement around you. Help you see in your own way." She clicked one button, and suddenly she could hear shapes, trees, rocks, even small animals. Her mouth opened in wonder. "Can I keep this?" "It's yours," he said. Something broke in her, then not in a bad way, like a wall falling inside her chest. She had never been given anything that was truly hers. Not by love. "I don't understand you, Sam," she Whispered, he looked at her gently. You don't have to, and still. He didn't touch her unless she reached first. Still, he didn't ask for anything in return. That night, before she fell asleep, she whispered a question into the dark. Why? Did you choose me? And Sam, sitting by the fire, answered with words that would echo in her heart forever. Because no one else saw you, he said, but I did. She closed her eyes, holding those words like treasure. And the stars above shone a little brighter for the blind princess who finally felt seen. The wind was stronger that morning, whistling through the valley like it carried a message no one could understand. Princess Varel sat near the edge of the stream, her feet resting in the cool water, her hands feeling the soft moss on the rocks. Sam was nearby, checking supplies and working on repairing a broken drone he found in the forest. She had started to notice small things. Now how many birds sang at sunrise. How the trees whispered different sounds depending on the breeze. Her hearing had sharpened, her nose catching faint scents of berries or burning leaves. But something inside her had also begun to change. Something deeper, something she hadn't told Sam yet. She was having dreams, vivid, sharp, and strangely true. In one dream, she saw Sam injured, bleeding near a cliff, and 2 days later, he slipped while gathering herbs and scraped his arm in the exact place she had seen. In another, she saw a black ship landing in the far mountains, and that night, a shadow passed over the stars with no sound. She didn't understand why her mind showed her these things, or why her chest felt so heavy after waking up. But this morning, she knew she had to tell him. Sam, she said quietly, can I talk to you? He looked up, wiped his hands, and sat beside her on a rock. I see things, she whispered, not with my eyes. But in dreams, Sam didn't speak. He only listened. I dream about events before they happen, she said, and they come true. Not always clear, but close enough to feel real. Sam's eyes narrowed a bit, not in doubt, but in thought. How long has this been happening? He asked. Since I was small, she said, but no one believed me. They thought it was madness or just nonsense from a broken girl. Sam placed his hand gently over hers. I believe you. Her voice cracked slightly. Why? Because I've seen too much in this galaxy to ever doubt someone who speaks with courage, he said. She let out a shaky breath, her shoulders dropping with relief. Sam looked at the horizon, then back at her. What else have you seen? She hesitated, then said, there's a storm coming. Not of wind or rain, but of fire and pain. Sam stayed quiet for a long time. Then he spoke slowly. I didn't tell you everything about why I came to your world. Virel turned her head toward his voice, waiting. I was sent here by a small resistance group, he said. We heard rumors of a hidden royal, one who was cast aside but held knowledge the Empire feared. You mean me? She whispered. He nodded. They say the Empire feared a prophecy, one that spoke of a blind heir who would bring balance and peace, but only if she found someone who truly saw her heart. Her breath caught. They feared you, Sam said. So they buried you in silence, hoping time would erase you. She felt dizzy, like the ground beneath her had shifted. I'm not just broken, she said softly. I'm dangerous. Sam stood up and paced a bit before saying, not dangerous, powerful. If you choose to be. That night, her dreams came again clearer than before. She saw herself standing on the edge of a high platform, fire all around, and Sam lying injured beneath her feet. Then she saw herself raising a hand, and the flames faded into light. She woke up gasping. Sam rushed to her side, holding her shoulders gently. Another vision. She nodded. Something is coming. Sam didn't question her anymore. Instead, he began to prepare. He reinforced the shelter, checked all the drones, and laid out old weapons from his ship. She listened carefully as he moved each click, each step, each breath. I don't want to lose you, she said suddenly. Sam froze for a moment, then knelt beside her. You won't, he promised. Not if we stand together. The next day, a signal crackled through one of Sam's devices. Strange encrypted message in an Imperial dialect. They found us, he said. Virel stood up slowly, gripping her cane, though she barely used it anymore. What do we do? She asked. We run, Sam said, but not to hide this time. We go toward the danger. Virel nodded, her blind eyes firm. I'm ready, she whispered. Not to be saved, but to fight. Sam stared at her, and for the first time, he saw not a fragile princess, but a flame growing brighter by the day. He offered her a small earbud with a voice sensor. This will help you command the drone scouts with your voice. She placed it in her ear and smiled. Let them come. And as the stars blinked above them, far across the sky, a dark Imperial ship changed course, heading straight for the valley. But they were no longer afraid, because the blind princess now walked with purpose. And the human walked beside her strength, her sword, and the only one who ever saw her scars as something beautiful. The wind howled louder that night, as if it knew what was coming. The ground trembled softly beneath their feet as the Imperial dropship roared overhead, searching with blue scanners that cut across the trees like silent knives. Sam grabbed Virel's hand and pulled her gently behind a fallen log. Both of them holding their breath, the scanner passed over them but her. Blind eyes didn't flinch, and his heartbeat stayed calm. When the sound faded into the distance, Sam whispered, "That was just the scout. The main forces will follow soon." Virel nodded, her fingers gripping his hand tighter. "Then we can't stay here anymore, Sam. Let her quickly to his hidden ship, an old freighter buried beneath vines and metal sheets." Silent for years, but still alive, he had kept it secret, even from her until now. With a few taps on a panel, the engines hummed low, dust shaking off. "Its wings." "Climb in," he said, helping her gently into the seat next to his. "Are you sure this thing still flies?" she asked. He smirked. "No, but I'm hoping it remembers me." As the engines lifted them into the air, a second scanner appeared in the sky, this one louder. Closer, then came a voice over the comms. "Unregistered vessel, you are harboring Imperial property land and surrender immediately." Sam turned off the speaker and whispered, "Property." "They still call you that?" Virel didn't answer, but the slight twitch of her jaw told him she heard every word. He pushed the ship higher, punching through the clouds and into the quiet blackness of space. Stars opened before them like glittering fireflies, but behind them came the sound of engines fast, angry, and armed. "They're chasing us," she said softly. "They won't stop." Sam replied, "They want you back. Or gone. But they won't get either," she said with calm steel in her voice. Sam glanced at her, not the scared girl he met days ago, but someone new, someone rising. They entered the drift zone, a path of unstable energy currents used only by smugglers and the desperate. Sam steered hard left, dodging between broken satellites and old wreckage floating in the current. The Imperial ships followed, but not all made it. One crashed into debris, bursting into flames without a sound. Another clipped a broken antenna and spun out of control. Virel sat calmly, guiding him. "Now go right," she said. "There's nothing there," he said back. "Trust me." He turned right, tanned just in time. A bolt of plasma missed their ship by inches. It had come from above, hidden by the shadows. "You saw that in a dream?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "And I see more coming." The chase went on for hours. Every jump, every dodge, every moment of silence between engine bursts was a test of their bond. She didn't see with eyes. She saw with something else. He didn't question her anymore, not when her warnings saved their lives again and again. But fuel was low, and the ship's outer hull had taken hits. They couldn't run forever. Sam pulled them toward an abandoned mining colony on the edge of a broken moon. A place no Empire patrol visited since the collapse. He landed the ship in a dark hangar full of dust and silence. Inside the colony, broken machines lined the walls, and flickering lights painted strange shadows across the halls. "Not the safest place," Virel whispered. "No," Sam said. "But the best hiding spot for now." They set up camp inside an old control room, locking the doors and powering up only the basics. Sam checked the map and pointed to a nearby jump gate. "If we reach that, we can disappear, but they'll expect us to run toward it." She said, "Exactly." Sam replied, smiling, "So we'll do the opposite." While he made plans, Virel sat quietly, her fingers brushing against the cold floor. Then her body stiffened. She whispered, "They're already here." Sam looked up sharply. "How do you know?" "I can feel them," she said. "One of them? He's close." Sam moved fast, grabbing a small EMP pistol and checking the cameras. On one of the broken screens, a shadow moved through the corridor slow. Silent and armed, he turned to Virel. "Stay here. Lock the door after me." But she grabbed his arm. "I'm coming with you." "You can't see," he said. "I don't need to see," she answered. "I have you." And so they moved together, him with the weapon, her with her voice. Each step she guided, each corner she warned. "Now?" she whispered. Sam turned and fired. The intruder dropped without a sound. "How did you know?" he asked in awe. "I don't know," she replied. "I just feel them, like a heartbeat out of place." They returned to the room, silent but alert. Virel sat down, shaking slightly, not from fear, but from the energy that pulsed through her veins. "Sam," she said quietly, "I think I'm changing." He looked at her with deep respect. "You're becoming who you were always meant to be, far above the moon." More ships were coming, but this time, the chase would be different. The prey was no longer weak. The princess was no longer blind to her worth, and the human was no longer running alone. The old mining colony shook with distant echoes, deep rumbles that vibrated through the steel walls and dusty floors. Sam sat by the entrance, his weapon resting across his lap, eyes fixed on the shadows beyond the hallway. Beside him, Princess Virel sat with her legs crossed, calm but focused, her fingers lightly tapping the ground in rhythm with her heartbeat. The enemy was getting closer, but so was something else, something rising inside her that she didn't understand. "I feel it again," she said softly. "The pressure, like a wave building inside me." Sam looked at her, concerned but not afraid. "What does it feel like?" "Warm," she replied, "like heat moving through my bones, and something whispering. Like it's calling me forward." He reached over, placing his hand on hers. "You're not alone in this." She nodded, her cloudy eyes staring into nothing and yet seeing more than most ever could. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the floor trembled again. An alarm from Sam's scanner blinked red. "3 ships just entered orbit," he said. "They're deploying troops." "They're not here for negotiation," she said quietly. "No," Sam answered, standing up. "They've come to take you back, or destroy you trying." But she didn't flinch. Instead, she stood as well, walking carefully toward the center of the room. Lifting her hand slightly, "I need space," she said. "Just watch, and don't be afraid." Sam stepped back, confused, but trusted her. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply for a long moment. Nothing happened. Then the air changed. A soft humming filled the room, not from the walls, but from her. Her skin began to glow faintly. Like starlight under her skin, the dust in the air shifted, swirling gently around her like a soft wind responding to her breath. Sam stared, frozen not with fear, but awe. Virel's voice came low and firm. "I don't know what this is, but I think it was always inside me, hidden, buried under fear." She lifted one hand. and the ground beneath her feet pulsed once, then cracked slightly as energy rippled outward. Sam's scanner went wild, detecting energy levels far beyond anything natural for her species. "This is impossible," he whispered. She turned her head toward him, smiling slightly. "No, just unexpected." The doors to the outer hallway burst open with a loud crash. Imperial soldiers stormed in. Weapons raised, Sam raised his pistol, but Varel held up a hand. "Wait," she said calmly. The soldiers aimed at her, shouting warnings, demanding surrender. She didn't move. Then the light around her exploded outward, not in a blast, but in a wave of soundless pressure that threw every soldier off their feet. Their weapons sparked, circuits fried, and helmets cracked as they slammed against the walls. Sam's mouth dropped open. "You just knocked them out," he said. She nodded slowly, breathing harder now. "I didn't mean to, it just happened." "Then we use it," he said, his voice sharpening. "This might be the only thing strong enough to keep them away." But Varel looked down at her hands, trembling. "I don't want to hurt people," she said, "even them." Sam stepped forward, placing both hands on her shoulders. "You didn't destroy them, you stopped them, and gave us a chance to live." More ships were landing now. The scanner screamed again, too many to count. They needed help. Just then, one of the unconscious soldiers stirred. He groaned, then looked up at Varel with wide, fearful eyes. "Why you?" "You're the one from the prophecy," he whispered. "What prophecy?" she asked. "The voice in the shadows," he said. "It warned us, when the blind one glows, do not strike, or the light will turn to fire." Sam stared at the soldier, then back at Varel. "You were never meant to be hidden," he said. "You were meant to rise." But Varel dropped to her knees, exhausted. The power had taken its toll. "I can't hold it for long," she said, breathing heavily. Sam helped her up, guiding her back to the control room. "Then we get out while we can." He called their ship, remotely starting the engines. Outside, more troops were swarming the colony. Sam picked up a nearby signal jammer and looked at her. "Can you do it again, just one more time?" She hesitated, then nodded. As they reached the exit, another squad blocked their path. Sam raised his weapon, but again she stepped forward. Her glow returned, brighter now. Even as her body shook from the strain, she spoke only one word: "Leave." And the ground shook as every trooper dropped their weapon and ran, some shouting, some crying. They weren't following orders anymore. They were running from a living myth. Inside the ship, Sam strapped her in, launching quickly into the sky. As the stars surrounded them once more, Varel leaned against his arm, tired but alive. "Do you think I'm a weapon?" she asked quietly. "No," Sam said, brushing a lock of her hair behind her ear. "I think you're a miracle." And as they disappeared into the stars, the Empire began to whisper in fear, not about the human who ran, but the princess, who glowed. The stars shimmered like silver dust as Sam's freighter approached the capital world of Varnith. It had been many years since Princess Varel had seen, or rather, since those skies again, the last time she had stood beneath them. She was a forgotten offering, a burden too heavy for even her own family to carry. Now, she returned not as a rejected daughter, but as something far more powerful. Sam glanced at her from the pilot's seat. "You sure about this?" She nodded slowly, her fingers resting on the pulse scanner on her wrist. "Yes, they need to see me like this, not broken, not hidden, but awake." Below them, the palace glowed with soft blue light, its towers rising like claws from the mountain cliffs. As they landed on a distant platform, alarms started to blare across the city. The Empire had not expected them to return, not alive. Not like this. Sam helped her down the ramp, his eyes scanning the skies for guards, snipers, or worse. Varel walked without a cane now, each step confident, each breath steady. Whispers followed them immediately. Guards blinked in disbelief. Citizens stared in silence, and drones hovered overhead, recording every second. "She's blind," someone said. "She was exiled," said another. "But she glows," whispered a third. By the time they reached the outer courtyard of the royal hall, hundreds had gathered. The grand doors opened with a slow rumble, revealing the High Queen and her council, faces hard, eyes cold. The Queen stepped forward, her voice sharp. "You dare return after abandoning your role and consorting with an off-worlder?" Sam opened his mouth to respond, but Virel gently raised her hand. "I was abandoned," she said calmly, "not the other way around." Gasps rippled through the crowd. The Queen narrowed her eyes. "You were unfit to serve the throne. You are blind and flawed." "I am blind," Virel replied, "but I am not weak." She took one more step forward, then the ground beneath her pulsed with faint light. The air changed again, as it had in the colony, her body glowing faintly like a living star. The guards raised their weapons, but the high priest stepped forward quickly. Lowering their arms, he stared at her, stunned. The prophecy. Virel nodded. "I didn't know what I was until someone believed I was more than just a mistake." She turned toward Sam for a second, his eyes locked with hers, even though she couldn't see them. "Your fear buried me," she said to the council, "but this human, his kindness helped me rise." The Queen's jaw tightened. "You are still not worthy of the throne." "Then I don't want it," Virel said. "I didn't come here to take your crown, came to show them the truth." She lifted her hands, and the power within her moved again, this time slower, more focused. Around her, the images shimmered, her memories appearing like echoes in the air. Visions of her childhood, locked rooms, whispers, pain, then images of her rising, using her gift to protect, to save, to fight. The crowd saw everything. Many began to cry. Some knelt, and the Queen's face went pale. "Stop this," she demanded. "This is manipulation." "No," said the high priest softly. "This is clarity." A noble stepped forward from the crowd. Then another, then more. "We were wrong," one of them said. "She is what we need," said another. Sam stepped beside her. Not saying anything, just being present, that was enough. Then a small voice called out from the edge of the crowd. It was a young alien girl, maybe 6 years old, blind in one eye with a twisted leg. She walked forward slowly, trembling, holding a small flower. She offered it to Virel. "You make me brave," the child whispered. Virel dropped to one knee, took the flower gently, and held it to her heart. Tears slipped down her cheeks, unseen, but felt. Sam knelt beside her, placing one hand on her shoulder. "You did it," he whispered. "They see you now," but Virel shook her head. "No," she said softly. "Now they see themselves." And for the first time in the history of the Empire, the capital square echoed with silence, not from fear, but from awe. The Queen turned and walked back into the palace, her power shaken, but no one followed her. They followed the glowing girl and the quiet human who never gave up on her. The great hall that once echoed with silence now hummed with new life. Where once only nobles walked with pride, now stood common citizens, children, warriors, and elders, all gathered to witness a moment they never thought possible. Virel stood at the center, no crown on her head, no royal robe wrapped around her shoulders, just her plain traveler's cloak and glowing skin that pulsed with calm light. Beside her stood Sam, silent as always, steady as stone, his human presence now seen not as strange, but as sacred. The high priest held a scroll in his hands, but his voice trembled as he read from it. "By the laws of the old and the will of the new, this day shall be remembered not as a coronation, but a restoration." He looked at Virel with deep respect. The blind one who sees with more than eyes, and the outsider who dared to believe. The crowd stood in stillness as Virel stepped forward and raised her hand. "I was born in this palace," she said, "but I never lived here. I was Raised with silence and shame, told that my body made me broken, told that my eyes made me less, but I found my strength not here. I found it out there. She pointed toward the sky above them, in the forest, in the cold, in the quiet. In the hand of a human who gave me nothing but choice, respect, and time. Sam didn't speak, but his hand brushed gently against hers, grounding her like always. Virel turned back to the people. "You asked if I would return as your princess," she said, "but I have returned only as myself. I will not take a throne, I will take a role. I will be your voice if you cannot speak, your eyes if you cannot see, and your fire if you are afraid." The people didn't cheer at first. They bowed their heads, some placed hands over their hearts. And then, one by one, they began to kneel, not because they were forced, but because they wanted to. Even the nobles who once whispered shame now lowered their heads, not out of guilt, but in honor. And when Virel's eyes turned toward Sam, her voice softened. "You gave me everything without asking for anything," she said, "so now I give you this." She reached into her cloak and pulled out a small, binding crystalline old symbol of eternal connection between two souls. Chosen by heart, not bloodline. Sam's eyes widened. "Virel?" "You don't have to," she smiled gently. "I know, that's why it matters." She held out the crystal. He took it carefully, his rough fingers brushing hers, and in that moment, the crystal glowed warm between them. The high priest stepped forward again, his voice stronger now. "Then let it be recorded that on this day, not a marriage of title, but a bond of truth was formed between the girl they cast out and the man who lifted her up." As the crystal melted into light and faded into their hands, something stirred across the city. The palace walls glowed faintly, ancient symbols coming to life again, signs that hadn't shined in over 1,000 years. The people gasped, pointing, whispering, "What's happening?" Sam asked softly. Vera smiled. "The palace responds to truth. No lies can live in its light." That night, lanterns floated into the sky from every home, every corner, every ship in orbit. Songs were sung not in celebration of royalty, but of hope, of healing, and of courage. Children wore blindfolds in honor of Virel, learning to walk, using only sound for 1 hour, laughing, falling, and rising again. And in a quiet garden at the back of the palace, Virel and Sam sat beneath the stars, their hands linked, their words few. "You still don't like attention, do you?" she teased gently. Sam chuckled. "Not really, but I'd go through it again for you." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I know." He looked at her with quiet admiration. "You could have had a prince, a warrior, a ruler," she smiled. "I found something better, a partner." Silence fell again, but it was warm, peaceful, not the silence of shame, but the silence of belonging. Above them, the stars blinked gently, as if watching over them, and across the galaxy, a message spread from world to world, not of war, not of empire, but of a blind princess who glowed like fire, and the human who never saw her as broken, only as beautiful.